We're going to continue the conversation with Sauers around boring businesses, the opportunity in boring businesses, why entrepreneurs ignore boring businesses. David, 68% of entrepreneurs, 68% believe that disruptive or innovative industries are more profitable. We chase flashy businesses. We chase high visibility industries. Marty, people go to me all the time. Keith, why don't you start something simple? Why do you got to make a fucking platform instead of just doing a coaching business? David, let's talk about the opportunity in a boring business. You sat down with your partner one day years ago and said, yeah, my daughter just peed on me because that was a horrible unclean restroom experience. We need to go create a better restroom experience. One would say, what? Your family derided you. Your friends derided you. You're like, what? A restroom business? Talk about the opportunity, David Sauers, in boring businesses and why entrepreneurs should stop ignoring boring businesses. David.
I think that we just have that mindset that we have to go and work for someone else and we have to take a paycheck home and we have to do this 9-to-5 job, or if does the company have insurance for you? And, you know, people don't like when you do things differently. People in your crowd, they don't want to see you take a chance. Everybody wants you to stay with them. Nobody wants anything outside of the ordinary. And I think when we do disruptive businesses, it upsets that apple cart all over, from a social perspective to a family perspective and in our daily lives. But it's like what John and Marty were talking about just a moment ago. How can you make fitness and eating boring food fun? Is it like we've got those pedal cars where you actually drink and ride around the city? Should we all get on the pedal cars and eat avocado instead of drinking a beer and see the sights? What can be done to make things different and just out of the ordinary? Flashy does sell.
You've taken a boring business, though, and you've built it into a scalable brand. Talk about the importance of scalability mattering more than Glamour. Again, David, many entrepreneurs are chasing the glamour. Yeah, oh yeah, I got a great business. But then they are unable to scale it.
I see so much glamour in what he does. So let's be careful with this. That business is not boring, man.
I agree. But what I like about David is he's taken his business and scaled it, where a lot of entrepreneurs can't scale a business. And he's scale this thing. Talk about how you scale a boring business, David Sauers.
Both Robert and I, we're hometown boys, where we didn't come from money. We came from working families, and community was very important to us. But flashy, we've evolved into being that brand. A lot of people are like, oh, your ego, no, man. Do you think that I was terrified to be this big purple Teletubby back in the day? Now I wear the purple, I'm comfortable in it, and people, oh, that's your ego. No, it's my brand. That is my brand. And I am out there putting it out there so that to make an impact, to make a statement, to make it memorable. And those are the things that are difficult for people to comprehend. So even though it is boring, it doesn't have to be boring. You can make that change. You have to step out of your comfort zone to make people uncomfortable or to make people look at you. I went to an event last night. I'm in my purple suit, and then I went to a Ducks Unlimited banquet. Man, I definitely looked like a duck out of water. I promise you. So you just roll with it. And if you're comfortable with it, you know who you are. I don't have a six-pack. I hadn't had a six-pack in 40 years. I'd love to have one. I'm sure my wife would love me to have one. But you got what you get.
Johnny.
Yeah, no, I think when it comes down to it, everything that David is saying is just so actionable and applicable. It's simple, straightforward. The conversation has been very intriguing to me, and I just hope that everybody's picking up on how he's explaining how he's gone about his business. Because let's be honest, if you can, like he said, he's a shit collector. If you can somehow manage that one, he's got some principles going in the right direction.
Yeah. And I wanted to add this too. People might think you're flashy and it's ego, but who would trust your brand if you didn't have something unique about you or something that stood out? And you should have some pride in your brand. I feel like you put the work in, you celebrating 20 years. you should stand out. Wear all the purple and have all the purple everything. I struggle with that as well. People do that. I'm nowhere near you, but people do that to me as well. I got the big less brunch. I got everything less brunches down to the drawers and the socks. But people say that's egotistical as well. I'm with you there 100%. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Time everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you're living proof of that's what else as an entrepreneur, you become your brand.
And Rick jumps in and says, say it loud and say it proud with that purple, the royal color. In this noisy world, being memorable is key. Love how he owns it. And then he says, sounds like it also makes fun. Love me some more fun. From Rick, I appreciate you joining into the show here. I know you join us regularly, which I very much appreciate. David, when we've talked about this before on your earliest appearance, you faced skepticism when you decided to start this business. You had family members and friends questioning you and Robert and what the hell you guys were doing. How did you overcome those challenges tied to the perception of your business? Because again, there's entrepreneurs listening right now. There's young men starting their businesses and they're concerned about what others might think. How did you overcome that, David?
Everyone thought that we were crazy. I mean, we had lost our minds. I mean, we both had good, respectable jobs. We were out in the community. But the thing that changed all of that was we saw a need and we believed in ourselves. And well, I like taking a comfortable crap, and I want to do it nicely. It's my private time, and so I've got to think that other people have the same feelings. They may not be as vocal about it, but deep down it's a sanctuary. And Robert and I looked at this and we were just like, it'll just take time. I know people are saying that we're crazy, and we thought that we had maybe lost it a few times too, that maybe we had a few screws loose. But the overall perception, even you get one or two people, this is the greatest thing. I wish I'd have thought of this. Where have y'all been? I can't believe that it's such a simple idea. Why did it take till 2000 for this to come about? Why did we just accept it? Nobody wanted to talk about it. So when nobody wants to talk about anything, the status quo remains the same until it's challenged. And we challenged it and we punched it in the face. Even though that we're still doing it, it's more of the norm now. You expect nice facilities and you want nice facilities. And we're happy to be a part of that and happy to be one of the people that made the change and the industry change the norm.
What I find fascinating, David, is that you're our generation. You're mine and Johnny's generation of entrepreneur, disrupting an industry that is going to support the Martys of the world and the younger generation, where it wasn't the 30 or 20-year-old saying, hey, why don't I have clean bathrooms? And you're like, wait a minute, I have grown up with shitty outhouses my entire life. Why is not somebody creating clean restrooms? And you took the mantle and you owned it. And now it's hard not to look to the future and recognize that you guys have set the bar, as Johnny said, as now the standard. Right. So when people are going out, they're going, no, I don't want to have that old shitty outhouse because I expect to have this now. It took a couple of quote unquote old dudes to figure that out. And I find that kind of humorous, actually, David, that not a couple of young guys in the Martys of the world are like, wait a minute, why are those old guys still sitting in the old wooden shitters? We're going to create a good clean experience. Is that not lost upon you, David, that it was like, again, in air quotes, the old guys figured out this problem, David?
If I hadn't have been pissed on and then pissed off about it, it wouldn't have evolved. But the fact that I was so upset about it, couldn't wipe myself up. I had pee all over me. There's no paper towel. There's not, so what are you going to wipe it off? Where are you going to wipe? I'm covered. So I was pissed on and then just pissed off. And at that point, you're just like, something's got to be done. And you start looking around. Well, what's nobody's changed anything. Nobody's done anything. This is just accepted. And people were, for the longest time when we first started testing this out, you're crazy. Who's going to want that? Why would anybody want that? And you're like, why would they not?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. I so love that. So love that. I got to just real quick, for all of our listeners out there, David said multiple occasions in this conversation, and we've talked about it plenty of times in the past. When you have an idea and you're going to try to step out on a limb and try to do something, people are going to tell you you're crazy. People are going to tell you're nuts. But this is your barometer. That tells you you're moving in the right direction. Because if they're like, oh, this is great, it's too inside the box. Because to solve problems that are for people that are like David did, he went way outside the norm. And when you step outside the norm, people are going to throw turds, literally in this case. But just remember, when people don't understand, that means you're moving in the right direction. So don't let them, even if it's a family member, oh, you can't do that. Don't listen to that shit. I was told the same thing.
Yeah. You're hanging out with Keith, John, Marty, and David Sauers, coming into the wrapping up moments of our show here. Mornings in the Lab with Keith and Friends, the only morning show to help you guys get going. Liam, I see your comments in the feed. I appreciate you joining our show. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like the channel, share it with your friends, tell all your friends. We get up out every single day to help you guys hit those big, audacious goals. David, we're going to wrap up the chat around being an entrepreneur, and we're going to wrap up the chat around boring businesses. Final comments from you on those two topics before we work towards wrapping up the show with our creator spotlight. David, what can you leave our audience with a nugget?
Yeah, the disruptors in the industry are the ones that change the norm, and that if you go back to every industry, the disruptors that people thought were crazy are the ones that have made your lives better.